Hi. All the religions and philosophies I know of have some form of meditation at their core. The intent is to realize our true nature. In this video, we will go through some steps towards being more mindful. We are going to talk about what is suffering, the divinity which is present in all of us, what are the barriers when we try to be more mindful, what are the different forms of meditation, how do we practice Vipassana meditation, which happens to be one of the types of meditation coming from Theravada tradition of Buddhism. We will go into details of the steps which we have to follow. We will also take a look at different challenges which we may face during our meditation practice. Then we will see some of the tips to apply this meditation in practice, in your daily work, in your daily routine, in your everyday life. Towards the end, we will see what are the myths associated to meditation, essentially what meditation isn't. And we will conclude with what are the effects you will observe in yourself when you have increased connection with mindfulness. Let's start with suffering. Buddhism has four noble truths at their core. And Buddha starts with a direct take on the compulsive life. A life which is compulsive and which is unmindful is suffering. This is the first noble truth by Buddha. Here, the compulsion refers to the state of mind where we don't know why are we doing something? Why are we dissatisfied? What is happening to us? What is going inside us? We are completely unaware of it. And who we actually are. So once we are experiencing these phenomena, it's mostly related or due to the compulsion. Now, the question is, why are we after pleasure? We experience throughout our life, our mind tries to categorize experiences into three broad categories. One is a good experience, the other is the bad experience, and then there is a third category of neutral experience. We try to grasp the good experiences. We try to block or prevent the bad experiences, and we ignore the neutral ones. Chasing just good feelings makes the life look like a struggle. We spend a vast majority of the time thinking about the future, trying to accomplish something, trying to be someone. Essentially, we are chasing just a handful of feelings which we think are good. We resist the unpleasant feelings, which means we block ourselves from a lot of possibilities. This blocking also leads to grief and fear. Apart from good and bad experiences, which mind categorizes, the third one is the neutral category. More than 90% of the experiences are in neutral categories. Those are the innocent, neutral experiences which we ignore, as a result of which our life seems dull, dry, and boring. Our sense of self is the body we have, the mind we have, the emotions, memories, thoughts, and opinions. This is what we call the self. But all of these are impermanent. Neither the body nor the mind or the emotions, nothing lasts forever. Everything is changing. In that change, if we try to grasp on certain experiences, the pleasant ones, that leads to sorrow. All that is left is the memory of it, and we have a thirst to want more of it. This limited sense of self also leads to greed and hatred. Greed can come due to different reasons, like any shame we have, any inner resentment we have. Essentially, we want to be special. We want to get more of something. We want to prove ourselves, or we want to take revenge. Not only this, a lot of times our pursuit of seemingly positive growth and development also covers the same greed internally. We want to get fame, wealth, respect. That is the greed which gets covered by the layer or by the cover of the positive growth and development, which is what we show from the outside. All this leads to thirst. We get into the only if syndrome, like only if I had this house or a partner, something, I then only I will be happy. Hatred comes when we fear being proved wrong of our identity. Then our identity, the limited sense of self we have, is at a risk of collapse. We get anxious, we are scared, and we end up increasing the boundary between the us and the other. As a result, we end up blocking or rejecting a lot of experiences. We waste a lot of time just to prevent ourselves from those experiences. What happens ultimately as a result of greed and hatred is everyone seems to be our competitor. Everyone seems to be our enemy, and life appears to be a constant struggle. Still, we live in denial, we live in ignorance. We don't live in the present, but we daydream, we fantasize the future, or we resent the past. The material development we get, the outside tangible material development, the comfort and luxury, they cannot cure this unsatisfactoriness which lies inside. Instead of examining what's happening inside, we instead of dealing with it, we look for distractions to cover our unsatisfactoriness. No wonder the research shows that a lot of entertainment like apps, social media, watching television, they don't make us feel good, rather guilty. They don't help us recover. The second noble truth by Buddha is on the same lines, that actions which are done with ignorance or compulsion without any awareness, all those actions lead to thirst. When compulsive, we don't clearly express our real intention. We work on the surface. We feel a certain accomplishment will make us happy. We have a narrow perspective of life, and we are not fully receptive. Hence, all this leads to a suboptimal experience. Even if we get what we want, we think we are the owners of our accomplishments. We want to protect our accomplishments. We want the, the experience to come again. But because everything is impermanent, this gives another struggle to preserve it. The thirst, which emerges from the compulsive actions wants us to get more for ourselves or do harm or damage, who threat our perceived sense of self or who threat our accomplishment. So, what should be the way? Just by knowledge and awareness of our own body and mind, we receive insights, which is essential for liberation. For example, it is rare to quit smoking by adding taxes or by displaying disturbing images of these effects of smoking, but by being aware to the psychology of smoking and deconstructing it into why we do it. Is it fun? Do we fear stopping it? Just by this observation and being aware, we gain the knowledge and insights, which makes it effortless and painless to quit it. A lot of books which are aimed at self improvement, they try to bring out the things which are in our unconscious, the things which we do by compulsion, to the conscious. They help us see the source. They help in self discovery, which leads to the reduction of our compulsion. So the question is how to be aware? How can we be aware? Well, the answer is very simple. This awareness is already inside us. We don't have to go outside. We think following certain procedures or certain rituals will make us free. That's not the case. They can be helpful, but unless we acknowledge our own mindfulness, the divinity which is already present inside us, unless we embrace it, we will be in the bondage. As is mentioned in a great book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we are not humans with divine experiences. Rather, we are divine with human experiences. Our true nature is that of divinity. It is the awareness. Our true nature is not what we think ourselves to be. If we think we are humans with divine experiences, it means someone has to give us those divine experiences, or we get those divine experiences by chance. That's not the case. The divinity is already there, the fundamental, the root nature of us. But most of the times, it gets overshadowed by the human experiences, by the compulsive experiences. And as Jiddu Krishnamurti says, no book will give you the knowledge than inspecting your own body and mind. Unless we observe our own emotions and feelings, unless we go to the root of it, unless we do that investigation and inspection, and if we rely on other sources like books and procedures and rituals, that's not going to help. The knowledge is already inside us. We have to discover it. We have to inspect it. This is exactly what Buddha says. You are your own refuge. Take no other refuge. One point to share is often we are lazy but we think we are patient. There is a difference between being lazy and being patient. Patience is action, it is doing, but laziness is anticipation. It is taking refuge on something or someone else. It is living in future. It is procrastination. Considering laziness as patience is nothing but cheating. When we are lazy, we go for ready-made solution. We go for quick fixes. But we already have all the ingredients and the source of knowledge within us. All we need is to discover it, realize it. The third noble truth by Buddha is suffering ends with awakening of mind. Knowledge brings unconscious to conscious. And this demystification, the deconstruction, leads to freedom. Let's talk about this divinity, this awareness which we already have inside. It can be called by different names like mindfulness or inner self or soul. Essentially, it is the divinity we all already have in ourselves. It is the same divinity which is there in all living and non living. What is it? What is that mindfulness? What is that divinity? It is very simple and fundamental and ever present entity. But because it is so fundamental, it is difficult to explain or define. It is much easier to experience, however. Just like in physics, it is very difficult to explain the fundamental quantities like mass or time. Same is the case with this awareness or mindfulness. Defining it will be very difficult, but experiencing it is very simple. We experience it as the vacuum, as the silence, the nothingness, or the unmanifested, which is present inside us as well as others. Let's take an example. When we see something, what happens? At first, there is a sensation of light on the eyes, which leads to the formation of image on the retina. Once the image formation happens, we have a perception of what it is. Here, the perception is not a recognition. This is just like there is something, you see something. You don't know what it is, but you see something. Finally, the brain recognizes it like, okay, this is a book, this is a person, this is a laptop. If you spend a few more milliseconds, you will be able to identify, oh, I have read this book, and this is my laptop. Oh, I know this person. That is the recognition. Now, between this image formation and perception, and then between the perception and recognition, just for a flash, if you think slowly, you can feel it for yourself. Just for a flash, there is a feeling where nothing exists. There is a feeling when the mind is still, it is thoughtless, it is working in the background, but the sense of time does not exist. We have this momentary feeling of silence, of amusement. This is where we experience the awareness, the divinity, the mindfulness. The moment when we are figuring out what it is, the moment of curiosity is when we are close to this divinity. I took the example of seeing something, but you can take example of any other physical sensation like touching something or smelling something. Now, we often don't dive deeper and we don't go into the inspection. Let's think about sound. Sound originates from silence. It is surrounded by silence and then it dies in silence. It is the silence that cannot be heard, but it makes the sound possible. Similarly, if you think about space, it is nothing. It is just vacuum, but it makes all the tangible things like book, laptop, air exist. Even a lot of the part of an atom is empty space. Space and silence, both are still, they are unmanifested, but they allow everything else to manifest. Here also, it is very difficult to define what is a space and what is silence. We usually express them via negation, like silence is absence of sound. We cannot express silence as presence of something. So it is easy for us to express them as negation, like, okay, it is absence of sound. It is so simple to experience silence and so hard to define it because they are so simple and fundamental. The same stillness of space and silence in the form of mindfulness and awareness is within us. Flashes of mindfulness can be easily acknowledged every now and then, just as we saw in the example of seeing, but often we don't go deeper into it. There are two main reasons for that. One is we are habituated to be compulsive, and hence we follow our known methods. Our known methods are ineffective, but we follow it instead of going to something unknown. Going to unknown is fearful. It poses a threat to our perceived sense of self. It is the death-like experience for the existing thoughts and feelings and our perception we have. Our inner self appears to be unknown to us. Hence, mindfulness looks new and fearful. At the same time, we are also disconnected from our source, our true nature. This is where the possibilities lie, but we fear opening up to it. With practice, the momentary experience of mindfulness can easily be extended so that we remain in touch with our real nature more often than we currently are. Let's talk a few more qualities of mindfulness, the divinity within us. Mindfulness is the stillness, the imperishable stillness within us. It is there every moment and in every involuntary or voluntary action of ours. Even if we are sleeping, the body functions, it breathes, the digestion of food happens, circulation of blood, pumping of heart, everything happens. The stillness remains there throughout. This mindfulness observes everything in a non-attached way. Mindfulness is unbiased. It does not take sides. It does not play favorite. It treats all experiences the same. Mind and body, however, can categorize them. Mindfulness is pure. It is light. It is the source of all creativity, all the wisdom and the knowledge. The lesser we chase it, the calmer the mind is, and the better we experience it. The more we exert force, it is difficult to experience it. In prayer to Goddess, Hindus seek destruction of inner enemies like greed, anger, and lust so that they can receive this spiritual beauty. Now, the goal of Vipassana meditation, which we will see in a while, is mindfulness. Mindfulness is both goal as well as the tool in investigative meditation, which is Vipassana. Let's talk about a few things which are the barriers to being mindful, which prevents us from facing ourselves. The first realization is a bit of hard truth, but the fact is we don't like ourselves. The mind is afraid and ashamed of looking at itself. We know inside us there is lots of things hidden, lots of feelings repressed, and we don't want to open the can of worms. We know we are full of greed, we have lust, we have hatred, we have guilt, we have shame, we have a whole bunch of unwholesome feelings. Just like when we know we haven't followed a healthy diet, we fear going for a routine medical checkup. The reason? What if something concerning is detected in the result? What if I'm exposed? Here also, in order to avoid unpleasant feelings, we don't want to see inside. But wouldn't that be more dangerous? Wouldn't it be much safer to appear and appear for the investigation, appear for your medical check, and similarly do your self investigation? To begin with, as Daniel Pink says, regret makes us better human. Regret has a negative connotation, but it helps us transform by learning the lessons. So if you have any resentment or if you have any regret, if you want to cry, do that. Don't hold it. Let the tension ease so that you can be more clear and true in your self inspection. Surrender, as Eckhart says in his book, The Power of Now. Surrender to the divinity within you. Surrender is not failure, but when you surrender to the divinity within you, it guides you and you don't come in the way. With increased connection with mindfulness, we view everything, inside as well as outside, as a vortex of energy. We tap into this energy which is ever transforming. We become open, we become receptive. Observation of the self is the key when we try to be more mindful. Observation has to be free from judgment, free from resistance, and free from self-condemnation. When you observe yourself, don't judge, don't resist any feeling, and don't condemn yourself. There are a few things which we consider to be sin. And if we observe that we have such feelings, for example, greed and hatred, it's quite natural to condemn ourselves. With condemnation, we won't be able to do a full observation. Don't be biased. Just do a plain, bare observation. In Ashtavakra Gita, again, one of the holy texts, when the king asks how knowledge is attained and how liberation is attained, Ashtavakra, the great sage, replied, to liberate, you just become the witness, you just become the observer. Ashtavakra asks to revisit our limited sense of self, to revisit that you are not what you think, rather, you are an extension or a part of the cosmic energy, just like everything else. Meet yourself, be the witness, be the observer. Ashtavakra then also says that being in the abode of mindfulness, the mindfulness which happens to be the reality, our true nature, being in abode of mindfulness, liberation is immediate. Mind tricks us thinking like once you achieve something or once you be someone, then you will be happy, then you will be at peace. Mind always has a concept of time, that you have to do certain things to become something. That's not the case with mindfulness, because that is our true nature. Liberation is immediate if you are open and receptive, if you are in the vicinity of mindfulness. And this is what the goal of meditation should be, to get closer contact with our own self, inner self, be mindful and gain knowledge so that we can be aware of all the states of body and mind. There is more than one way to meditate. And so there are different forms of it. One form is the concentration, where you focus on breath, as in pranayam, or you do some chanting of mantras. It aims at focusing the mind like a lens on one object. So instead of having a diffused mind where you are thinking of n things at one time, you try to bring all the rays of your mind or all the focus onto one thing. This brings calmness. This brings peace, and it is effective. The other form of meditation is dedication. You dedicate yourself in the work you do. A lot of times we focus on the outcome. If we do this, we will have this. So, outcome is our goal, and working is just a means. For example, if your outcome is to get money, no matter what work you do, you will try to choose the work which gives you the most money. Here, money is your goal, and what you work is the means. What you work does not matter. But in this form of meditation, when you dedicate yourself to the work, work itself is the goal. You work just for the sake of working. If something else happens, that's a byproduct. That's an added benefit. But that's not what you are looking for. If something else happens. If it doesn't happen, you don't lose anything. All your effort is just to make the work come out, to be creative or to be beautiful. It's like entering the flow state, as Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi says in his book Flow. When you work, when the goal of the work becomes the work itself. Reading and discussing spiritual subjects is also a form of meditation. When you discuss spiritual subjects, you experience and you shine light on the blind spots of the mind. You inculcate curiosity in yourself, and that encourages self discovery. What we will talk about is the Vipassana meditation. It is the investigative form of meditation. After mind is concentrated, we do the investigation of our own body, our own mind, the feelings and thoughts. Essentially, we investigate all the cognitive perceptions. So, Vipassana meditation has a foundation on concentration. You cannot do Vipassana meditation without concentration. So, you have to concentrate your mind first, and then make use of that concentration to investigate yourself. The intent, let's talk about the Vipassana meditation. That's going to be our subject of discussion in the remaining of the videos. The intent of Vipassana meditation is to be mindful. It aims at piercing the illusions so that we can witness the reality. We can see the impermanence and unsatisfactoriness of everything. You can think of it as removing the curtains so that we can see the reality. An analogy of observation could be that of a scientist who is using a microscope to view a microorganism. Just like the scientist is focused, concentrated, doing the investigation in an unbiased way to gain the deeper understanding of the microorganism, that has to be our observation. We strive to see the true nature of the things. We don't add anything. We don't block anything. Nothing enhanced, nothing reduced. The aim is to deeply investigate below the layer of thoughts and opinions and the perceived sense of self we have. All this requires energy. This requires practice, resilience, and patience. But it is worth it. One more thing about Vipassana meditation is it is not theoretical. It is experiential. Buddha says, place no head above your own. Don't take any words or statements for granted. Rather, experience it yourself. See if it works or doesn't. Now, before we start practicing Vipassana meditation, there are a few things we have to do to get ready. A lot of the content which follows next has been taken from this book, Mindfulness in Plain English, by Bhate Gunaratna. Meditation needs courage. Vipassana means to look in a special way. Now, to see the world within ourselves in this new way of existence, the world which we already have created for ourselves will fall apart. Our current sense of self will no longer hold. So there will be a fear in the mind. It will be a death like experience for the mind. It is the same fear just before we jump while air diving. It is all rewarding afterwards, but this barrier exists. Acknowledge it. Don't cover or run away from it. We also block a lot of sensations, knowing that this is what we already know. So we need to have courage to forget about all the theories, the stereotypes, and be ready to understand the true nature of life. The greatest habit we can ever break is the habit of being yourself, as is said by Joe Dispenza in his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. You have to die before death so that all that remains is pure awareness. The second thing is meditation is not possible without concentration. Now onwards, when we say meditation, it will be the Vipassana style of meditation. The first step is to realize that what you are doing the moment we are doing it. Without concentration, there will be too many sensations to be aware of at any given moment in the meditation. The concentration initially has to be forced, willfully forced, so as to bring attention to one subject or one object. Pranayam, breathing exercises done with right mindset helps us to calm and relax so that we can experience mindfulness quite easily. Now here we go into the details, what are steps we can follow or we have to follow in the Vipassana meditation. The first thing is attitude is very important. Our attitude or the goal here has to be to gain deeper insights into ourselves or to have an increased awareness. When it comes to attitude, an interesting phenomena or property of light is a good example. Light is a stream of particles or light is a wave has been a matter of debate for centuries. There was a period of time when light was considered to be made of streams of particles called photons. But then there were a lot of scientists and researchers who proved light to have wave-like qualities. And this wave or particle debate has been going for long. Now, what we see is light has got dual nature. The same is the case with electrons. Not only that, it also depends on how you are observing it. A recent study for which the Nobel Prize was given concludes that electrons, for example, can behave like a particle or behave like a wave. It depends on how you view it. Bringing the same analogy here, your attitude is very important. The goal with which you go ahead very much impacts the experiences you are going to have. So our goal here is to get deeper insights into our cognitive perceptions, to have an increased awareness. There is no timeline, there is no competition, so no rush. There is a goal without timeline. And when we say increased awareness, increased mindfulness, see, the mindfulness or the divinity we already have remains the same. It does not increase, it does not degrade. Is that our relation to that, our touch or our connection to that awareness can increase or decrease. If it increases, we say increased awareness. So one thing to clarify, your awareness does not, or the inner mindfulness does not increase or decrease. It's just like our connection to it, our experience to it can get stronger or weaker. Posture is very important. We have to sit comfortably. If the body is immobile, the mind will also wander. If the body is immobile, if the body is fixed, if it is locked, the mind will also wander less. So your posture helps the stability of the mind. There are a lot of postures. You can choose whichever one suits you. You can sit cross-legged or on chair. You can make cup shapes with the palms as you see in the figures. The back, neck, and head has to be straight in one vertical line. There is a lotus position, which is considered to be the best, but initially it may be difficult to sit in such a position. It can strain the muscles. It will give you a lot of pain initially. With practice, once your muscles get flexible, it's possible to have this position. But to begin with, you can choose sitting on chair also. Usually people also put cushion on the back so that your back is straight, your hips are straight, you about 3 inches above the base. But the position you choose should be comfortable enough so that you don't change it during the meditation. Our meditation practice in the beginning can be 20 minutes to begin with. It can be even more, but it depends on your journey, which part of the journey you are. To begin with, 20 minutes seems to be quite a reasonable duration. In the process, don't worry if there is numbness in the legs. Blood circulation still happens. It's just a nerve pinch. So don't panic about that. It will go away after a bit of a stretching towards the end. Your clothes have to be comfortable. Ideally, loose clothes are more comfortable. The environment where you practice meditation has to be distraction free. Ideally, there should not be bright lights. Meditation can be done in any work. It's just like when you practice it, you have to make sure the environment is conducive. Morning and evenings are usually the most preferred timings. Before we start meditation, blessings are quite important. You have to bless yourself. You have to seek energy, success, and wisdom, not only to yourself, but also to your loved ones, your acquaintances. You have to release or you have to send good vibes to inside as well as outside. There are some chantings which are done for this practice. Yeah, again, the benefit is not in the words. It's in the feelings, in the mindset. You have to feel it. Even if you don't say anything, that is fine, as long as you are feeling positive. If you are sending red the waves or the vibes of energy and success and wisdom, you should do that for your enemies also. In the beginning, it can look forced and not possible to think good about your enemies. But if you see everyone in the world, yourself as well as your friends as well and your enemies, everyone wants good for themselves, and everyone wants to stay away from the undesired feelings. So you and your enemies are not very different. In fact, none of us are much different than we think. Well, initially it will be difficult, but over time, as you gain more connect with the mindfulness, it will turn out to be automatic. Object of meditation has to be chosen. This helps us concentrate our mind. A common object of meditation is breath. This is the common life force for all human beings and all living organisms. This is a traditional and effective object of meditation. And the best part of breath is it happens in the current moment. It helps us stay in the present. When doing when this set having this setup, closing the eyes will be helpful. You can do meditation with eyes open as well. But again, to ease things, to help us get less distracted, closing the eyes can be helpful. So, first step, observe the breath at the rims of the nostrils. This is the place where the inner energy meets the outer energy. As you breathe in and breathe out, observe the sensation of the breath. Observe the effects it has on mind and body. Now, once you gain concentration, this is no longer a breathing exercise. Don't force your breathing. Just observe. Just let it be natural and free flowing. Maintain focus on the breath. To ease the process, you can do counting. For example, you can count 1, 1, 1. Don't say it. Just think inside your head and while breathing in. And once you breathe in, say 2, 2, 2 while breathing out. Then when you breathe in, you can just think 3, 3, 3, and so on. And when you release your breath, when you breathe out, you can say 4, 4, 4. You can do this till 10. If you get focused on the breath, stop counting. That is not needed. It is just a tool to get you started. If counting till 10 doesn't happen, you repeat it. Again, patience is the key here. When you do this, when you have this concentration, you keep the focus on the breath. Throughout the meditation, we will have two things. Number one, focus on breath. And second, judgment free and self-condemnation free and resistance free observation. These are the two key things of Vipassana meditation. When you have distraction, you come back to the attend your distraction and come back to the focus on breath. Now, all of a sudden, you will see that mind is a surprisingly busy market. You will see there is a lot going inside mind. It may look chaotic. It may look like a classroom where the teacher has gone out and people are just chatting. So there is a lot of chattering going inside the mind. This is not new. It was always the same. It's just that we are now getting more aware. If you observe this, be glad you are making progress. Conscious thoughts will try to occupy all of the attention. You have to observe for that. Whenever you are distracted, come back to the focus on breath. As you distract and then come back, you will you will have a feeling of self-condemnation, like, why did I get distracted? I should not have got distracted. I'm not following what I wanted to. That's all natural. Don't self-condemn. Observe if you have that feeling. Observation is the key. And each time you come back to the focus of your breath, you get more deeper into your inspection. That's fine. It's a process. A lot of the thoughts will disappear when you attend to them. Just like when you have uninvited guests in a party and you attend to them, they will run away. Similar thing happens to a lot of thoughts. When you just give a glance at it, they will disappear as if they did not belong there. And our mind is surprisingly full of so many such thoughts. Your first investigation will show you how restless the mind is and how difficult it is to focus. Again, patience. Patience is the key here. If you spend more time, you will see the rhythm of breath is the rhythm of universe. Rising, falling, you breathe in, there is a short pause, then you breathe out. Again, there is a short pause, and then breathe in and breathe out. That cycle happens, that rhythm continues. You will have impulses to control your breath as well. You may have that. We have the impulse to control the universe, to control everything and everybody around us. The same happens to the impulse. The same is the impulse to control the breath. A lot of people have tried to control the world in the past, but in vain. So learn from your own experiences. See, just observe. You will observe the tension when you try to hinder the flow of breath, either by holding the breath or not breathing in for long. That will develop a tension in the body, that a small panic in the body. So don't hinder the flow of breath. Similarly, don't hinder the flow of energy which happens in the universe outside your body as well. Just observe. It should be fun and stay calm and silent. If you observe more closely, there will be different types of breath. Some breaths will be long, some will be short. Some breaths will be smooth, some will be ragged. See the cycle of breath. Each breath has a birth, growth, and a death. Each inhalation and each exhalation has this. Don't say this. Don't think. Just observe. Just see what breath you are having. Just observe it. At the same time, don't anticipate what the next breath will look like or what the previous breath was. Stay in the present. Don't get engrossed in the memory of the previous breath. Eventually, you will see the breath will become so subtle that you may not feel it if you are not attentive. That will require a more peace or more deeper attention. You will also feel inhalation and exhalation merging together. This is an indicator that we are going slowly deeper into the practice. Sometimes the impulses will come back. They will try to coax you, cajole you. Your impulses can threaten you as well. You may have a feeling, what are you doing here? Shouldn't other priority things be taken care first? Am I not missing fun? People are watching TV. I should go watch TV. I should be with someone. Hey, did you forget about doing XYZ? What about movie this weekend? You will have lots of things, but they are all hollow. Don't ignore them. Don't jump off, but don't get trapped in them either. You observe the passing show of impulses. So whenever you sit for meditation, you should, even if you are doing for 20 minutes, you should think, you should have enough time. You should have time, just think like you have the whole day for that. If you have any high urgent or high priority things to be taken care of, do that first. If you have people to attend to or any other responsibilities to discharge, do it. When doing meditation, you don't have to think like you are having just 20 minutes for that, because it will have some unwanted side effects. One side effect is you may just wish the session to get over sooner, as quickly as possible. You will keep a track of time, like, oh, how much more minutes are remaining. That's not going to help. Or you may be in some kind of rush to finish the meditation. We need peace, we need silence, we need stillness. So do meditation, choose a time, choose a place which is conducive to the practice, which does not lead us to go in rush. So once we have these impulses coming, and as you are still you and silent, you will understand they are very hollow. You observe the passing show of impulses, very similar to how you watch a movie. If you're watching a movie, you laugh on the comedy, and you may be slightly terrified when watching a horror movie, but you don't hold on to it. You don't get trapped into it. You similarly observe the passing show of impulses. Just like your breath, your impulses will also have some birth, their growth, and then they will fade away. Impermanence lies in your thoughts, in your impulses as well. Some people report that after doing this practice of meditation, after spending a few days or maybe like the first week, I am feeling crazy. Hey, this is a revelation. This is a sign of progress. A lot of people try to chuck meditation aside. They give it up. Now the thing is, you are no more crazier than yesterday, but now you know it. You had a dark room inside, but now you are having a torch and looking inside, and you see lots of uh, cobwebs, lots of dangerous insects, and you say you think you are crazy now. No, it's not like that. Ignorance may be a bliss, but it doesn't lead to bondage. It doesn't lead to liberation. It leads to bondage. It leads to compulsion. Being comfortable doesn't mean you are doing better. The dark room is still inside. But with meditation, you have that light of awareness, and you feel more crazy. Don't stop there. That's a good sign in many ways. Because we are not familiar with our own inner world, this may look new and frightening. But don't run away from yourself. This is how the road is. Again, no judgment. Make no judgment, just observation. A lot of people are helped when they write down their experiences in a journal or in a notebook related to meditation, so that a few things don't stick to you, don't bother you, don't remain in your conscious. This can also help you take actions to be a better version of yourself. So if you want to write it, you can write it on a Google Doc, or you can write it on your notebook. You can maintain a journal for that. That also helps you track the progress you are making in getting closer to mindfulness. Two things which we have to take care of, or we have to be aware of, is thinking and sinking. When it comes to distractions, don't seek distractions, but deal with it and observe it when they appear. Meditation is not running away from distractions, because distractions also help us get deeper insights. Just like breath, thoughts, distractions also have an origin, a growth, and an end. Inspect the distraction. Inspect one at a time. When the mind is concentrated, you will be able to easily see the chain of thoughts. Don't get involved in the chain of thoughts, however. Attend to the distraction one at a time, and don't leave the distraction halfway. Inspect it to the depth. See the impermanence, the unsatisfactoriness hidden in the mental formations. After the inspection is complete, return focus back to the breath. One distraction is thinking. In thinking, you get entangled in a chain of thoughts, unable to observe the origin, the growth, and the end of thought. This is not observation, but this is involvement. Don't involve, just observe. We have a goal, but we don't have a timeline. We have a goal to have increased connect with the mindfulness. And this meditation is not a one-time effort. It is a patient and resilient practice. Sinking is one when we feel drowsy. Remember, sleeping is not meditation. Sleeping is relaxing. But in meditation, there is investigation, there is inspection into our physical mental state. In sleeping, we don't inspect. So meditation can have a relaxing effect. Sleeping can also have relaxing effect, but they are two different entities. So if you feel drowsy, then you are not meditating. Go and take care of that physical need first. Maybe you need rest, you did not have enough sleep, or maybe you had a heavy meal and now you are feeling slow. Meditation is quite energetic and attentive activity. It may look still, but it requires a lot of energy. Catch such drowsiness or such lethargy early. And just like any other distraction, this will also give you an opportunity to observe the effects of the distraction, the effects it has on what effect it has on your mind and on your body. Let's see some of the common observations you will have when you meditate. In the initial sessions, you may enter some blissful states. However, they will be very unreliable and they will be very short term. Remember, don't chase or expect the same in the next meditation session. A lot of people enjoy the initial sessions of meditation, and knowingly or unknowingly, they want to repeat the same experience again. Remember, this is a, a, a compulsion. This is not awareness. As in the Noble Truths by Buddha, he says, everything is impermanent. And if we try to cling to the impermanent ones, we will have suffering. So if you want to repeat, if you think it is a pleasant experience, and if you want to repeat it the next time, there are huge chances you won't. And you will end up uh, feeling bad and sorrowful. So the idea is, be open to what you are going to witness. Be sure there will be something new or something different. Even if it is not, that's fine. We don't have a timeline to our goal. Simply surrender to the inner awareness or the mindfulness. Let it guide you. Don't predict, don't anticipate what's going to happen. With each session of meditation, there is a lift in the functioning of the body. The nervous system, the mind, and the circulatory systems, they are energized. All the energy centers in the body are aligned. There are lots of researches which have been done, and books like Becoming Supernatural, they share some of the medical researches as well. However, the aim of meditation is investigation. Medical benefits, improved problem solving abilities, these are the additional benefits. These are fringe benefits. These are not the goals. So don't expect any immediate result from meditation. Don't meditate with an expectation that you are going to solve your problems. No, that will lead to suboptimal experience of the meditation, and you will miss the point. Also, the gain after each session is subtle, and it's not easily noticeable from session to session. However, the results compound, but your expectation of quick results will make you frustrated. Make simple, small steps. As Jim Quick says in his book, Limitless, small, simple steps have a profound effect. With practice, as we surrender ourselves to the inner awareness or the mindfulness, we are more watchful and we get access to the unconscious. We don't guide or we don't instruct our mindfulness. It happens the other way around. We let our mindfulness guide us. We remain still, we remain awake in the process. We have placed a lot of barriers, a lot of floodgates in our mind where we block a lot of experiences. Meditation opens those floodgates so that we can feel the energy and the sensations we had earlier blocked. Our vision is updated. We develop a new way of seeing things. Let's look at some of the challenges, the problems and distractions which can happen during meditation. The first is concentration. Concentration is the foundation for Vipassana meditation. We cannot do Vipassana meditation without concentration. And concentration initially may feel like taming the wild mind. This will require some force in the beginning. So practice first concentration, which may take a few days or weeks. Decide on the duration of the meditation before you start. If you do not decide the duration, you will give up to the slightest of the restlessness you face during the practice. 20 minutes is a good duration to start with. Some form of pain will be there, a little bit of pain will be there during meditation, but this is not a torture or self-mortification of the body or mind. This is an active participation. If you are just sitting there waiting for time to get over, or if you make no effort to reach to the stage of concentration and investigation, it's not going to help. Meditation requires energy. You don't have to exert force, but you have to exert energy. Second, meditation it's a continuous activity. To begin with, we sit for, let's say, 20 minutes a day and do meditation. But what about the remaining time? Ideally, we should aim for 24/7 awareness in every moment and everything we do. That should be the end goal. So for practice, this 20 minutes is good, but we have to apply the learnings in the rest of our life and the rest of our day as well. We should aim for doing meditation or being mindful in different things we do. So in the beginning, it's not possible to have 20 awareness throughout the day and throughout the night, but we can start small over there as well. We can apply the practices of meditation, the practices of observation in a few things to begin with, a few of the neutral things. It could be washing dishes. It could be preparing food. It could be spending time with your child. Anything which may look neutral, we can apply observation, and that will give us a new way of experiencing it than we are used or accustomed to it. So mindfulness is not an inn, rather it is our home, it is our abode. With mindfulness, our intuitions are going to grow. Our subconscious will guide what to do, how, and when. Whenever we go for meditation, sit with a purpose that you are not here to waste time on useless thoughts. Rather, this is where you are going to meet yourself, your inner self. We will experience both good and bad times in meditation. It's not like every meditation session or every day when we go towards meditation, we will be in the best of the mind. Observation is the key here also. Whenever you feel distracted, you can take some deep breaths to get closer to mindfulness. Also take a wordless note. Don't say, but just take a note of how long were you distracted. Which thought triggered the distraction? And when you bring your focus back to the breaths, counting, like when you breathe in 1, 1, 1, that's what you think or what you say. Ideally, you don't say, but you just imagine. You can use this counting technique to bring focus back to the breath. Whenever you get distraction, try to deconstruct the feelings of distraction. For example, if you think about worry, worry is when you deny or reject something, but you fear that you may not be able to. That leads to worrying. What happens if my exam results are not up to the mark? What happens if I'm not going to get promoted? What happens if someone is going to leave me? So there are a few imaginary situations, or it could be something real, but we are trying to live in the future and we try to deny something or reject something. At the same time, we fear that we may not be able to. Those things lead to worry. Try to deconstruct the feelings of distraction. Why are you feeling it? How did that originate? Don't ponder on the sequence of events, but think, how did it come to the conscious? Any feelings, even the nasty ones, don't deny or avoid it. Don't disguise it either. Examine it till the death. We have a culture where we try to ignore a few things and we try to move on. Many a times we succeed temporarily. Many a times we put some cover. Many a times we put some category. Many a times we make some judgment. But a lot of times those feelings get repressed. And these repressed feelings may come out. Don't block the experiences. This is where the opportunities lie. Meditation is not just focusing on breath, it's an inspection. And when you do inspection, do it thoroughly. A lot of things which is unwanted, it will show up. You just realize it, you just take it. Don't get involved in it at the same time. Have a plain observation, but acknowledge it. Even if you have pleasant or unpleasant revelations, everything will be useful. If your current state, if you feel miserable, you are miserable. Start from there. No need to be ashamed of. No need to condemn yourself. Don't daydream. Don't assume. Don't fantasize either. Remember, pain is inevitable, suffering is not. Suffering happens due to our tendency to grasp good experiences and deny or resist the bad ones and ignore the neutral ones. Pain, if it is not handled well, it remains hidden and it causes suffering. Pain is just sensation and energy, but if you don't view it properly, it will lead to fear and anxiety. One example is in the book Indistractable by Nir Eyal. In the book, he talks about a story of a lady who was very distracted by one app, and she was blaming the app for her distraction. As a matter of fact, that lady was not having a smooth marital life. Her marital experience was quite rough uh, at that point of time. It was that hidden pain which she was trying to cover by distraction. So in the book, the author talks about distraction, and he says distraction most of the times is because of some repressed feelings, some pain which has not been handled, which stays there, which we are trying to cover but not acknowledge. It is much easier to acknowledge it, examine it till death, till the death of the experience, than to keep it there. Pain receives energy the more it is suppressed. If you are having any psychological pain, just go into it directly. Fully uncover what it is. Don't add anything to it. Don't miss any part of it either. When you do concentration, there will be a little bit of physical pain. Those pain, it can be easily handled. You can also focus on the pain. If you are having pain in your leg, if it is too much, then of course you have to change your posture. We discussed earlier as well that choose a posture you can sit without changing for 20 minutes. But if the pain looks unbearable, again, this is not a self mortification exercise. Change your posture. So the idea is we have to avoid pain as much as possible, but if it comes, observe it. Pain can also be an object of meditation. As we talked about breath, pain can also be your secondary object of meditation. And the objects of meditation, the secondary object of meditation can change during the practice of meditation. Now, next point, bad days are the ones when we are unmindful, where we are not aware. Again, in the Flow book by Mihail Csikszentmihalyi, he breaks the myth that free time is relaxing. A lot of us think that free time is more enjoyable, it is fun, but it is not. Free time is very unstructured. The jobs which we do are more enjoyable than free time. We don't know what to do in the free time. There is no feedback, there is no goal. It is much less enjoyable. So, when faced with a free time, for example, if you are waiting in a queue, just meditate and observe your inner energy, your inner state of mind. If there is any restlessness, if there is any anxiety, observe it. Now be aware of your ambitions. You may be having ambitions. You may have development plans. You may be after perfection. All these seem positive. They may be, but they may be greed as well. They may be the greed to be rich, greed to be respectful, or they may be something to cover the shame, or they may be something the to cover your regret. Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, talks at length about it, like what shame can do to us. She also gives a lot of practical tips to handle it. But think, but revisit your ambitions, development, and your perfection plans. Are they a form of greed or a cover to, to your inner lust? Pierce through the cover, see the reality. That's the idea. That's the goal of Vipassana meditation. Buddhist texts talk about 5 hindrances in the practice of meditation. These are desire, aversion, doubt, lethargy, and agitation. These are also a form of distraction. These are the common hindrances. We have already covered most of them. To mention further, when you have doubt, it will lead to inner dialogue. You will question, like, hey, what am I doing here? Is it working for me? Those are the doubt which will lead to inner dialogue. And this inner dialogue can easily translate into chain of thoughts. And you will enter thinking instead of observing. When you are thinking, you are involved in the thought. But when you are observing, there is a distance, there is a gap between the thought and the observation. So observe, don't think. And agitation is mostly due to repression of some feelings. You may be feeling agitated because there is something to take care of. It could be some experience you are holding, or it could be some really urgent or important work kept at bay. Personally, when I sit for meditation, I try to make sure all the urgent and important work has been taken care of. Either they have been taken care of, or I already have a plan to take care of them later. So there is nothing needing my attention at the moment. If not, it will lead to agitation, and you will have a rush to finish the meditation early. You will unknowingly keep track of time, like how long this session is remaining. those things will hinder. So agitation, you have to take care of agitation before you start the meditation session. If some repressed feelings comes up, you have the journal as well as observe it. Observe, don't fight. That's the idea. Don't conceptualize, don't categorize, don't condemn yourself. Look at what it is, what are the effects it has on the mind and body, how strong it is, how long does it last. Try to catch the sensation the moment it arises. Initially in the meditation, you will be able to you will be able to witness the sensation later, after it has taken a lot of attention in the mind, which is called catching the lion by its tail. Don't do that. With practice, you will be able to have more closer access to the source or the origin of the sensation. The moment sensation arises, catch it, observe it. For this, vigilance, patience, and energy will be needed. So we have seen some of the barriers in the continuity. Let's take a quick look at them again. There are physical distractions like numbness in the legs, which should be fine. If it does not hurt, it's not an issue. It's not due to lack of circulation. It's just a nerve pinch. Take care of your physical needs first. If you have not slept well, take a good sleep. If you have any responsibilities to discharge, do that first. Take care of your taking care of the mental distractions is understand that meditation is not an obligation, it is not a duty, it is an insight, it's a new way of looking, and it should not be boring. If it is boring, just revisit. Are you anticipating some few things? Are you trying to repeat an experience? Or are you not letting go of your mind, not letting loose? Try to watch out for, don't you think that you know the breath fully? Every breath is different. Every breath is fresh. It is ever changing. Just be open to it. Don't live in the memory of the previous breath or anticipate the next. It will lead to insights if you are open to it. Watch out for signals like signals of aversion, like I'm busy, that kind of syndrome. Essentially, you can end up procrastinating or making excuses to yourself and you don't want to meditate. This is natural. This is especially true in the beginning. When you have witnessed your noisy mind, you may be a little bit scared and afraid. And if you have a lot of expectation and you want to make faster progress, those are also the things when you feel meditation is not working. So be aware of these challenges, these distractions, or these blockers and barriers. Don't try too hard. It will make it mechanical. And we won't be able to tap into the stream of energy within us. The stream of energy which is outside as well as inside cannot be felt with force. Apply energy, don't apply force. Don't be eager for results. Sometimes we in the beginning push, we tense. As a result, we achieve nothing or we achieve very little. This leads to frustration. So meditate with a balanced effort, a steady effort. In the meditation, it's possible that you have some frightening experiences, your repressed feelings come out, but it's equally possible that some blissful feelings also arise. Don't avoid them, observe them, accept them, but don't get wrapped in them, just like any other feeling. Now, how to put meditation to use in everyday life? In isolation, it is good to practice meditation, but it is dry if it is not put to action. So The true purpose of meditation has to be understood. It is to bring us closer to our real nature, which is possible via deeper investigation of our own senses, our own body mind complex. We don't cling, but we observe all the transformation, all the changes happening inside and outside, and for which you don't need just those 20 isolated minutes. You can apply these practices everywhere, anytime. We spend a lot of time in autopilot mode. We are full of compulsion, we are full of daydreaming, and we know how things already work, and we don't want to relearn, which is good in many ways. For example, if you have learned how to drive a car, over time you can drive the car with least effort. You know what to take care of. You can play music, you can sing song, you can talk to people, still you can drive the car. But if I say try to relearn driving the car every day, that's not practical. So a lot of the times, what we have already learned, we just reapply them, which is good. It saves time. But think of cases where you can revisit your set thoughts or set notions, and maybe you try to see things in a new way. It could be anything. It could be walking. You try to walk a little bit slow and make feet your whole universe, the universe of your inspection. Feel the sensation and all the minute jerks that make up a step. How you get a feeling to lift the leg, how your legs are ultimately lifted, how legs swing, where in the body you apply force, how the hands coordinate the swing of hands. Just observe things. You can do that while doing anything. You can do that while cooking food as well. How different sounds originate. Just have a special attention to different things you do. You can check the posture of your body as well every few minutes. Don't correct it. Just see how the body is held. Which part of the body is receiving more pressure? Where are you exerting more effort? You can also match the rhythm of breath with anything you do. For example, one of the oldest techniques during mountain hiking is when you go for hiking, if you get tired, a lot of mountaineers, they match their breath with their steps. Like they will take breath in, one step forward, breath out, next step forward, and so on. So that brings a rhythm to the work they do. And because they are more focused, they dissipate less energy. Energy dissipation happens when you do something and you think about something else. If there is a wider gap, that will require a lot of energy. But if you have complete dedication to the work, if you go into the flow of the work, if you match to the rhythm of the work, if you resonate with it, your energy won't be dissipated. Rather, you will feel more recharged after your work. It's the opposite. You feel more energetic. So try to see if there is any work where you can match the rhythm of your breath. Is there any work you can do to get into the flow of the work, where not the end goal, but the work itself is the goal? All these little activities are going to increase the awareness. They will increase the reception. And as Buddha says, only a receptive mind can be enlightened. Not every day will be the same. We will face good times, bad times, but with awareness, we will be able to know when we became compulsive, when we became unmindful. And these everyday challenges, these give us new learnings. They add it to our experiences. Don't be devoid of it. The revelations may surprise or disturb us, but all these revelations will be useful. Let's see what meditation isn't. Meditation, there are a lots of myths about meditation. Meditation is not a static. It means it is dynamic. It can be applied in anything and everything you do. Static meditation, where you just sit and in an environment conducive, is good for practicing concentration and meditation. But that's not the end goal. It should be ideally a full-time 24 hours activity, not for just a few minutes. Meditation cannot be borrowed, it cannot be learned. Rather, it should be practiced and experienced. As Buddha says, place no head above your own. You have to experience it yourself. You have to practice it. You cannot purchase it. You cannot borrow it. Meditation is not relaxation. However, relaxation is a very healthy byproduct of meditation, but the goal of meditation is insight, inspection, raising the curtains, trying to see what is there inside. Similarly, meditation is not sleeping. It is not going into trance. You can go into trance by when you are high on drugs, but then you are not awake, you are not investigative. Meditation is remaining awake and seeking clarity. Going on high using some drugs will make you dumb, not intelligent. Meditation is not running away from reality. However, during practice, when we see people who are in isolation, those people are practicing concentration. We feel that they are disconnected from society. They are running away from reality. Rather, opposite is the case. Meditation is going directly into the reality. It is trying to go directly beyond the illusions, beyond the limited sense of self. It is going directly to the truth, which is beyond the polite little excuses we make to ourselves and others. Those little innocuous lies we make to ourselves to fool ourselves and others. All the cover which we maintain to hide our true nature. Meditation does not insulate you from pain, but it helps you pierce the pain barrier so that we can go beyond suffering. Meditation is not a shortcut. It will not give us quick revelations. It is not an easy fix. It requires patience. It requires resilience. It takes energy. Meditation may seem selfish, but rather it is self-care to reach a pure state. You are of no use to anyone, no use to humanity, no use to society if you have any unwholesome state of mind. Only a liberated person can benefit the world and humanity. Else, it is very likely that our actions are impure, they are susceptible to be unholistic, and they are very likely self-centered. In meditation, we don't think about our high goals, lofty goals, but we examine the life events without pasting any mental images, without categorizing, and without any judgment. So, we come to our final point. What happens after meditation? After a few days of meditation, you will start to see more connect with mindfulness. You will be able to observe yourself in a clear way, in uncovered way. In You will be able to see our naked inner self. So, with increased connect to mind with mindfulness, We see everything clearly. We see the impermanence of life situations, impermanence of mental states. What we call I, it is a process. I is a set of some aggregates, like uh, different sensory organs, this body, this mind, thoughts, opinions. This is a process. This is a transform. This is transforming energy. This is not a state. This is a process which we are constantly doing it. We are able to glide through the changes, the ups and downs of life quite easily. Meditation makes us see what the unwholesome states of mind like greed, hatred, fear, jealousy, how it affects us, what it does to us, what chemical reactions happen inside us when we think bad of others. How does our body become toxic when we are full of hatred, when we are full of jealousy? How we become compulsive and restless when we are having greed and lust. So it makes us see what these unwholesome states do to us, to our health, to our happiness, to our relationships and to our life. Decisions are best and choices are creative when the mind is not overshadowed by greed, lust, anger, and fear. As we attend to all the feelings or experiences which we have called set as neutral, we appreciate those feelings which we usually ignore. And this is where we realize happiness lies in the small things also, but they go unnoticed. It could be playing with your child, it could be observing nature, trees, birds, or people in the park. Basically, anything. It makes us enter the sublime states, what Buddhists literature and Buddhist texts refer to. There are four sublime states. The first is metta, which is the love for all the living and non-living, for all friends and foes. We realize that we all are not similar, but we all are identical at core. We all are continuous transformation of energy. We all are the manifestations of the same unmanifested. We share the same divinity which connects all of us. Uh, there is a whole genre of books around it. In the power of subconscious mind, the author Murphy says that the subconscious which we have inside us, there is the same subconscious outside us, which connects all the human beings. And this is why prayers, when we do that with dedication, does help. Even if you are in US and if you are praying for someone in Europe, you are not physically connected, but that subconscious connects each one of us. Your prayers will materialize if you are doing that with the real feelings. So that's the whole book around it. The whole idea is we share the same divinity which connects all of us. Everyone, even our enemies, seek good feelings. If you see someone who is unmindful, you have you develop a compassion for them. That's the second sublime state. Those who are in pain and those who are in need, you develop compassion for them. You develop feelings for them. You develop love for them. You genuinely send good wishes to the person who is in an unwholesome state of mind, like anger, depression, etc. You realize that those people need more care and more friendliness. Just like people who are sick, they need medicine. Similarly, the people who are in unwholesome state of mind, They also need care, love, and they also need the awareness to be more mindful. In Stoicism, as it says, there is no evil, everyone just wants good for themselves. As you enter the sublime states, you will realize that mindfulness ensures your good isn't greed and your good doesn't turn out bad for others. You think good for everyone. You develop appreciative joy instead of envy or jealousy within others' success. You get inspired, not envious, by the success of others. Ultimately, we develop the equanimity in life's situation. All these sublime states have a lot of overlap, and they are not different. Rather, they are very much interconnected. These lead to faith. These lead to increased self-confidence. These lead to increased mutual understanding and respect. Respect for self as well as for others. With increased connect to the mindfulness, we have a higher awareness. With we know when we get passionate versus when we are detached. We know when we are full of hatred versus when we are full of compassion. We know when we are at rush or when we are in peace. This enables us to see the true nature. This enables us to see our true nature, the true nature of compassion, the nature of benevolence we have, the nature of purity which we have inside blossoms. Automatically, we are receptive, and whatever we do aligns with the Eight Noble Paths. So, the foundation of Buddhism is on the Four Noble Truths and Eight Noble Paths. These paths are suggested by Buddha. These are under three categories. One is the ethical conduct, which refers to right speech, like no lie, no backbiting, no gossip. Right action, where we take fair actions. Right livelihood, where we earn by fair means, not by cheating or inflicting pain on others. Then we have a category of mental discipline, where we have the path to right effort, which aims towards mental discipline with patience, energy, and resilience. Right concentration, where we use concentration as a tool towards mindfulness. Concentration is a tool you can use for good as well as evil. Right concentration is where we use this concentration as a tool towards mindfulness and right mindfulness. And the third category of the paths is the wisdom, where we follow the path of right thought, the wholesome thoughts, and right understanding of all the Four Noble Truths. Ultimately, we will still have desires and we will work towards it, but we won't be caught up in it. We won't be controlled our desires. We will be able to see the desires and the root of it. We see ourselves not as the owner, but as an observer and as a user. So whenever we get the result, we don't treat ourselves to be the cause of it. We work with purpose, we work full of energy, we work with focus, but ultimately we accept the result we get. We are aware of what we are doing and why we are doing. We relate with others as friends, not enemies. We relate with others in a holistic way, without competition, without jealousy. We become receptive. We know what our limitations are. We are aware of our shortcomings. We even laugh at our mistakes. but we learn from our failures. We iterate and we improve. That was all I had to share. To confess, I'm not an expert, I'm not a teacher, I'm not here to preach. But these are the learnings which I had. And at best, I am an early student of the journey towards mindfulness and meditation. Hopefully, a few of the things might have related with you. There are a lot of great books available which you can refer to. I referred to some of the books in this video. But yes, reading the books yourself, doing the inspection yourself will give you more understanding. And this is nothing theoretical, but pure experiential. Unless you experience meditation, everything will be just a theory, just text, and of no value at all. One more thing to mention is meditation, if you are really serious, you need to find a teacher who is realized. These days, a lot of online programs are also run by various organizations, and we have some great instructors and gurus as well, in irrespective of the religion. That might be helpful. As Bhate Gunaratna says, that you may start meditation on your own, and you can accelerate your learning when you are in proximity to a self-realized teacher. So there is nothing stopping you to practice on your own. You can do that. You start it. You gain some intuition. You understand things. And once become, you get the proximity of a teacher, that can accelerate your learning. But don't stop it. Don't be lazy. Don't procrastinate. This is something you can easily start. It is nothing dangerous. It's just inspection. With that said, thank you for watching this video. If you have reached here till the end, thank you so much for your attention, for the gift of your attention.